Okay, before we even go into the video, I'm going to tell you right now, yes, I know that the rivalry with Chase Elliott is why people are hating on Harvick right now, but this is more in his career overall in the last couple years, because let's be honest, Kevin Harvick really wasn't well liked even before his spat with Chase Elliott, so let's hold back on anything about that until we get more into it. So, what I want to go over today is really why Kevin Harvick has gotten more hated as the years have went on compared to other drivers who really haven't. So without further ado, let's get on into it. All right, number one is the fact that he has rivalries with popular drivers, or he does things that will piss off the majority of fans. So I briefly talked about Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick's little spat, but let's go more into it. At Bristol, they're racing hard for the win. Elliott gets a tire cut down, goes down pit road, comes back out, stays right in Harvick's lane, giving him the dirty air and allowing Elliott's teammate, Kyle Larson, to get by Kevin Harvick and get the win in the Bristol night race. This would have been Harvick's first win of the year, so rightfully so, he was pretty pissed. I don't really see anyone who did too much wrong there. I think it was hard racing for the win. But then you go to the Roval, and at the Roval, Kevin Harvick goes through one of the corners, gasses it up, hits Chase Elliott, and knocks his ass into the wall, and nearly eliminates him from the playoffs. Well, in a karmic showing of comedy, Kevin Harvick then gets intimidated by Chase Elliott, someone he likened to a 9-year-old, and gets crashed out of the playoffs due to his own error. So that right there is why people right now dislike Kevin Harvick. But he's done things before that have been very questionable at best. So back in 2017, Dale Jr. is going to retire. People are celebrating his career. Well, Kevin Harvick turns around on his show on SiriusXM and says this.
Some of the growth in the sport has kind of been, has not reached the levels that it should have because our most popular driver hasn't been our most successful driver. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won the most popular driver for however many years in a row, and he has been our sport's most popular driver, but he hasn't been anywhere close to being our most successful driver. And when you look at other sports, and you look at basketball, and you look at football, and you look at their most popular drivers, they're also right up there on the top of the list as their most successful drivers. So for me, I believe that Dale Jr. has had a big part in kind of stunning the growth of NASCAR because he's got these legions of fans and these, this huge outreach of being able to reach different places that none of us have the possibility to reach. But he's won 9 races in 10 years at Hendrick Motorsports and hasn't been able to reach outside of that. So, it's not. I know that those aren't the most popular comments, but it's those are real life facts that you look up and see on the stat sheet. Imagine how popular he would have been if he'd have won 2 or 3 championships.
Totally agree.
That's what this is all about. His dad was popular because of the fact he became Dale Earnhardt because of the fact that he won 7 championships and he was out there grinding every week. That hasn't happened. So, that's the difference. You're talking about how cool it is and all the things that are on social media, but the thing that makes sports go around is success. Successful people in other sports that are the most popular people in other sports win. LeBron James wins. Steph Curry wins. Peyton Manning won. And those were the guys that were the most popular. And that's how you drive the sport and take it to a new level when your most popular guys are winning week after week after week.
Speaking of Dale Jr. stuff, back in 2015 at Talladega, he had to make it to the next round of the playoffs by basically winning at Talladega. In the final restart, he lines up side by side with Joey Logano. Well, as it had been earlier reported, Kevin Harvick, who was just close enough to the cut line to be eliminated, had engine issues and mechanical issues and could not even get much more than 80 miles an hour. So, if they went back green, he wasn't going to make it. So what did he do? Well, he allegedly takes out Trevor Bayne, crashing half the field, ending the race prematurely, and retaining his position on the track. Everybody knows he did it on purpose. This is one of his most egregious actions as a driver. Now, these things are all in line for Kevin Harvick. When you look at Kevin Harvick's career, it is littered with problems, spats, and arguments and fights with other drivers. You look at his early spats with Ricky Rudd and Greg Biffle. That could just be justified as youth. After all, generally younger drivers are ones who are probably more prone to be getting into altercations with other drivers on and off the track. So it could be seen as early in his career, he was just a young driver who had a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, and it was just his way of venting it out. But the thing is, Kevin Harvick has never changed through his career. He's been racing in the NASCAR Cup Series now for 20 years, and he has the same MO. And while that might be good for some drivers, like Mark Martin, who is somebody who was a fan favorite for his likability, his clean racing, and just all around being a great person, that's not great for somebody who is always getting into it with everybody. See, Kevin Harvick, when he was doing this, was 25 going on 26 early in his career. Now, the man is in his mid-40s, and he's still acting like an angry 20-year-old. He's like the Green Day of NASCAR in a lot of ways. Yeah, they were popular for doing that kind of stuff early on, but now it just looks like an old man trying to relive his prime. It doesn't look really that appealing to people, especially newer fans who are just watching this old dude go around taking people out that they might like, or calling people out that they might like. You can tell Harvick wants to be respected by those in the garage area, especially probably because of his seniority. Aside from Kurt Busch, he's the longest tenured NASCAR Cup Series driver in the field, and I think for that reason he should be respected. After all, we'll talk about it in a bit, but he's put together a pretty great career in his own right. But when you look at other drivers who have raced as long or nearly as long as him in the Cup Series, like Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, and Kurt Busch, they've all matured. They race those around them the way they want to be raced. Whereas Kevin Harvick seems to go after younger drivers like he's an old man trying to get him off his lawn. Now, I don't want to say this as a way to disrespect Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick is a supremely underrated driver and is one of the best drivers in NASCAR history. But at that same time, when you are one of the best drivers, you should be held up to a higher standard of both action and driving. This year, for instance, with the driving part of it, he has had no wins, but has been probably a top 5 to top 7 driver overall in the Cup Series, and people think it's a down year. I think that's the level that Kevin Harvick should be held to. But when it comes to how he acts as well, he should be racing those around him the way that he wants to be raced. He wants to be raced with tons of respect. He needs to give a little of that respect back. I think one of the biggest ways that you can see Kevin Harvick really needing to mature up a little bit is after he got passed by Kyle Larson. There's a lot of other times that Kevin Harvick has gotten into things. Sometimes, though, it's justified. For instance, I support Kevin Harvick and what he said about the Atlanta reconfiguration and why they should consult the drivers more. It's not that Kevin Harvick's wrong all the time, it's just more how he goes about things. He goes about things a lot of times in the wrong way, or he skirts that line so that fans can't necessarily like him. Now, there is a reason that people dislike Kevin Harvick that doesn't have to do with what he's done towards other drivers, and I think this one is the most unjustified reason for disliking him. Kevin Harvick wins a lot. He has 58 career wins in the Cup Series right now, putting him in the top 10 all time. He and Kyle Busch are the two winningest drivers in the Cup Series right now that are active. So when somebody wins a lot, of course people are going to dislike him. That happened to guys like Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Gordon, you name it. All the greats who have won a lot have been hated at some time or another. And he also has won a championship in 2014, which was probably not the most popular one when you look at some fans who think that that was Jeff Gordon's championship. Really, most things with Kevin Harvick's career, especially after he left Richard Childress Racing, have been things that really don't endear him to fans. So it shouldn't be a surprise why people dislike Kevin Harvick, or the fact that a majority of the people probably at least aren't crazy about him. So that's my thoughts on it. I personally don't really have much of a stance on Harvick. I like when he goes after people at times, but at the same time, I do not like how most of the times he doesn't back up what he says. But now I want to hear from you on this. What are your thoughts on Kevin Harvick? Do you love him for his actions and his personality, or do you loathe him, or do you just not really care whatsoever? He's just another driver to you. Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video. Share this video, subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content, and also to everybody out there who has supported the channel, thank you very much. It is really, really appreciated. So until next time, have a good one.